Alright, so setting your timing. First, what you're going to do is go grab an oil pan, and I would suggest just emptying the oil when you start out, and because you're going to have to take this sort of cover off the side right here, and all your oil is going to come out, so you might as well change your oil at the same time. You'll need a 13mm socket. First time I've ever used one of a 13mm before, but that's what it looks like the oil cover is in the front. You just unscrew that, pull the whole unit off. You can reuse your filter, I guess, if it's pretty new, or I would just replace it because it's really cheap. Grab yourself some oil. 20W50 seems to be the proper weight. You're going to take the points cover off. This is just a Phillips head screwdriver. I made myself a paper gasket for this out of an index card because it had no gasket on it due to the previous owner. And that's just designed to stop water from coming in there, and the repair manual even says there's originally a paper gasket there, so I don't know what it looks like. And right here you're going to crank the engine. The arrow points in the direction that it normally moves in. Up here you have your points right here and here, and they're clearly labeled left and right. These big fat screws here on the outside are how you adjust the timing on the left side. And these other smaller screws and this sort of adjustable plate that you can see in the back is how you adjust the timing on the right side. The internal two screws on both sides are how you adjust the points and the gaps at the points. And you're going to need to use all of these in order to set the timing correctly. I found I had to tweak both the gap and the timing in order to get precise contact. And what you're doing is you're going to rotate the engine down here, and there's a little viewing window right there, and there's marks on here. There's two vertical dashes, and I believe that means full advance. Then there's an LF and then a dash, and then there's going to be an LT and a dash, and likewise there'll be another two dashes for full advance on the right side. There'll be an RF dash, and there'll be an RT. And the T is for top dead center. The RF, I don't know what the F stands for, but that point is what the manual says to use for timing. And it's also important to note that it's the vertical line to the right of the letters RF and LF that's actually used as the point on this arrow. Not the letters themselves, but the dash, the vertical line dash to the right of the RF and LF. And in order to set the timing, what you want to do is have the respective point release or break contact at the moment that dashed line lines up with this window here, vertically right there. And in order to do this, I rigged up a test light as the book suggests, and now this is a little tricky to use, but you'll get used to it. And you can attach one side to one of the orange cables. Make sure you're not making contact with this center attachment point here, because the light will always be on if you touch that, because you'll be completing the circuit. But make sure you're touching the orange wire without touching anything else. Otherwise this won't work. It'll just light the light up all the time. Now you connect the other end of this test light to the positive terminal of the battery. And I'm going to do that right now. And what will happen is it'll light up when one of the point contacts is making contact. Now, using this method right here of a test light, if either of the points are making contact, it's going to light up. So you need to pay attention to that. There's a small gap in time in which only one of them at a time is making contact, but if either of them is making contact, this light is going to go on. Now, you take your socket, which is a 17mm, and you rotate the engine slowly. As you can see, the light will go on and off when the point is either making or breaking contact. Now, the manual says to start with the left-hand cylinder. So what you do is you find the vertical dashed line on LF on the compression stroke. And if you're unsure about whether you're on the compression stroke or not, and I certainly wasn't when I started because I'm just a newbie, I took a straw and I stuck it inside the spark plug hole. And oh yeah, by the way, you should remove your spark plugs because it'll be really hard to turn the engine over with the spark plug still in. But you can stick a straw or something like that in there, and you can be confident that you're on the compression stroke because it's going to push the straw out on the compression stroke because the piston is going up. So the straw will pop out, so you can be confident you're on the compression stroke. So on the compression stroke, you find the vertical line next to the LF, because you start on the left side. And then what you do is you adjust the timing plate here, the left side one, using these fat screws, and probably the point contact adjustment, and you're going to have to tweak those so that at the exact moment that dashed line next to the LF is passed, that the light goes off. So you have to just take, this is tricky, and what I'm doing here is I'm just testing it, and make sure when you're looking at the window you're looking at it dead on, because if you look at it slightly from the left or slightly from the right, that's also going to alter this. So this is also tricky and a pain in the butt, because you need to be looking at this dead center. When you find dead center, you want to hold your hand steady and adjust your respective bolt. These are just Phillips head screwdrivers. You don't need to take any of these screws out, you just need to loosen them. If you loosen them just a tiny bit, you'll be able to slide your plate around without any of the tension in these points pushing it back to where it was before. So what you want to do is hold it steady with one hand in the position you want. You loosen the screw. Make sure you break them free first before you try this, or you might have difficulty. And also these screws strip very easily, so be very careful. Don't use any penetrating oil. I believe it's bad to get oil or anything else inside here. You don't want to do that. The manual talks about lubing some things in here, but it also says be really careful, because the oil will mess things up. So don't do that. My best suggestion is if it's sticking, tweak it actually slightly tighter, and then, just a hair tighter, and then loosen. Make sure you put plenty of pressure forward into it. Use an appropriately sized screwdriver for this, because if one's too small, you'll strip it really easily. So you hold it steady with your right hand, or left. If you're lefty, you're going to have to use your other hand to loosen the respective screw and adjust. When you've done that for the left side, you start with the left, you do the exact same thing for the right. You can find the top dead center on the compression stroke by using the straw method, and you can see over the other side of the bike if you use a nice big long straw. Anything else would work as well, as long as it doesn't have any debris or anything that could possibly fall off into the cylinder. And you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to slowly rotate this thing back and forth, and also it's important that when you're setting this timing that you do rotate the whole thing forwards and backwards, the engine forwards and backwards, so that you eliminate any slack, as I read in the timing chain. So in order to get a true reading, you kind of have to wobble it around a bit. When you think you've finally got it, make sure that you rotate the engine a few times and then check again. Double, triple check, whatever. I've been sitting out here for quite a while checking to make sure that this is precise. And this, I'm pretty confident that I have this right. It was not that difficult, but it's going to take a little trial and error and just go slow, and that's about all the advice I have for that right now. So I'm going to fill this bad boy back up with oil and see if I can't get it running.